Nothing is more tragic than when a judge becomes the judged. But Judge Tracy Hunter betrayed her honorable position and ended up right where she put people away. After winning elections and becoming the first female African-American judge elected to Hamilton County's juvenile court, Judge Hunter's decisions took her on a darker path. Judge Hunter apparently valued family over the law when her corrections officer brother was under investigation for abusing an inmate. Instead of being impartial, Judge Hunter became an accomplice, abusing her position to get confidential information and backdating judicial documents, all to help her brother's defense. The courtroom, which was once her castle, became her guillotine when she pleaded not guilty and tried to use her expertise as a judge to fight back.
So you're denying my right as a defendant to address the court?
Ma'am, please have a seat.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The record should reflect again, you were offered an opportunity to speak, and you turned that down.
However, it didn't work, and she was found guilty of one felony and sentenced to 6 months in prison.
Number 3, you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center, credit 1 day. Mr. and Ms. Deputy can take her away.
The sentencing sparked chaos in the courtroom, and all of a sudden, Judge Hunter freezes, refusing to leave, and had to be dragged out by officers. Not the best look. Dishonoring a position is one thing, but betraying your friend by murder is another entirely. In South Carolina, in 2009, Erica Mae Butts and her lover, Shanita Latrice Cunningham, were caring for Butts' 3-year-old goddaughter, Serenity Richardson, and daughter of Butts' best friend, Lashia. It quickly turned out that Lashia made a grave mistake, as Butts and Cunningham were the worst possible choice to take care of a child. Apparently, little Serenity had a little potty problem. What do Butts and Cunningham do? They brutally tried to discipline her with a belt and coat hanger to the point of death. When police arrived on the scene, Richardson was taken to the hospital, but she died from her injuries. With no doubt whatsoever regarding their guilty status in court, they both received life sentences. This sent the couple into a frenzy as they collapsed on the floor, screaming.
The court finds it appropriate that each be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of life. You will get credit for any of the time that you've served.
It's safe to guess that no one in the courtroom felt any sympathy for them, though. While Butts and Cunningham couldn't take it in court, Luis Bracamontes had to provoke everyone.
And then just shot him right in the head and kept shooting.
After a crime spree that started all the way back in 1997, Luis Bracamontes would commit his most heinous crime in 2014 when he murdered Sheriff Deputy Danny Oliver and Detective Michael Davis during a carjacking. Bracamontes already had a long rap sheet that earned him deportation to Mexico twice for drug charges. This time, the American justice system would take matters into its own hands, since murdering officers is nothing to go light on. After 4 years of court proceedings, Bracamontes got his fated punishment, but he had provoked everyone in court in those hearings to the best of his ability, laughing, smiling, and even threatening to kill more.
I will break out soon, and I will kill more.
What some saw as a desperate way to appear tough under stress, Bracamontes might have just been putting on his best act.
Ladies and gentlemen, please step out of the hallway.
Knowing that what was coming for him would wipe the smile off his face forever. In 2018, Luis Bracamontes was sentenced to death.
The penalty to be imposed upon Luis Enriquez Menori Bracamontes is death.
Not only would Bracamontes stay in prison, knowing he was about to meet his maker, Bracamontes' wife, Janelle Monroy, was also sentenced to up to 50 years in prison. Murderers getting one last laugh before their penance seems to be a running theme, as Shondell Jackson also tried it. In Fredericksburg, Virginia, Shondell Jackson horrifically shot Nathan Potter to death after attempting to rob him, all because Potter had no money on him. Jackson was arrested, tried, but his remorselessness extended all the way to the courtroom. Emotions were high in court, as both Potter's family and Jackson's family were on edge and couldn't take it. But Jackson only made it harder by smiling, turning round, and even smirking at the victim's family at one point.
Possibility for extended supervision. I know that that is something that is reserved for the most serious of cases, and
This led to an officer literally holding him in place, attempting to restrain him as the cries of families became louder. After resisting, Jackson got what was coming to him, getting taken down and pepper sprayed before being dragged out of court. While Potter's family broke down in court, some families of victims go into attack mode, like what happened to Jerome Boggs. Whitesburg, Kentucky is seen as a normal, happy, small town, but notorious bad seam Jerome Boggs was capable of ruining everything. Boggs was on his way to Timothy Cook's house to buy some drugs, but something wrong must have happened during the deal, as it ended with the bloody corpses of Cook and his 4-year-old son, TJ, who was shot in the head and chest. When arrested, it turned out Boggs had a rap sheet with as many crimes as the small town's population, including capital murder, robbery, burglary, marijuana trafficking, possession of a handgun, and being a felony offender. This also extended to his wife, who was charged with being an accomplice. It's safe to say the town is so much better off without them, as Jerome was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 70 years, and April received 10 years. Even the judge realized how bad Jerome was, telling him, "I'm going to tell you, Jerome Boggs, you disgust me. If anyone ever deserved the death penalty, you did. You are not fit for the company of decent people." In court, however, Boggs got a feel of old Western justice when 3 of Timothy Cook's brothers attacked him out of nowhere. If anyone deserved swift justice like this in court, however, it was Bryce Rhodes. Bryce Rhodes is perhaps the most offensive and infuriating defendant ever in a courtroom. In Louisville, Kentucky, Rhodes was on trial for the murder of Christopher Jones, as well as 2 teenagers, Larry Ordway and Maurice Gordon. 2 teenagers were linked to Rhodes through a description of a big tattooed man who looked exactly like Rhodes. Rhodes's actions in court were almost as bad as his crimes, and in 7 years of court proceedings, he managed to piss off everyone from judge to jury to victims' families.
He keeps turning around.
Ma'am, I told you once before, let me please help you understand. You can't just talk out like that.
At one point, Rhodes heartlessly blew a kiss to one of the victim's family members and talked back to the judge, who really should have held him in contempt.
Mr. Rhodes, you're smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well,
Because I can. It's not a crime to smile.
it's not a crime to
Continue
smile.
what you were saying.
Rhodes' behavior didn't even stop at his own attorneys, you know. The people trying to help him when he spit on one of them as he was forced to wear a Hannibal Lecter-style spit mask to the next hearing.
Nice cheap shot.
You a coward.
Nice cheap
You a
shot.
coward.
Excuse me.
You'd think this would be it for Rhodes, but he kept on going, even threatening to show up at a judge's house.
I think you know why. You know exactly why. Now, listen, stop talking. Have been... I'm going to keep talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you think where you live at? What you think at?
After 7 years, the case is still open until December 2023, but it's safe to guess that everyone is hoping for the death penalty. It's hard to imagine what goes on through these murderers' heads when they commit horrible crimes like this. Dexter Johnson is no different. In June 2006, in Harris County, Texas, 5 criminals decided to ruin an innocent couple's night by turning it into a horror show. Dexter Johnson and his 4 accomplices carjacked Maria Apparence and Huy Ngo, initially taking the car for a joyride. The joyride might have been enough, but the devil must have gotten to Johnson, because he suddenly decided to do so much worse. Sexually assaulting Maria Apparence, and he couldn't even stop there, because he decided to take his evil to the ultimate limit, murdering both Apparence and Johnson in cold blood. In court, Johnson being guilty was as clear as day, and he had a brief moment of consciousness when he looked to be emotional, but whether or not that was due to guilt or for the fear of knowing he was about to lose his life is another story, because Johnson was rightfully given the death penalty. This was only a spark in court, though, that sent someone in the back into chaos. Which which in turn made Johnson go crazy, trying to attack someone before he was restrained and taken out, probably to death row.